If someone tells you that they have faith in God, what does that mean? Most people would tell you that faith is something beyond the realms of logic. The dictionary defines faith as belief in something for which there is no proof. Do people actually still use these books? We often hear the phrases blind faith or a leap of faith, implying that faith means belief despite sufficient evidence. If that is the case, then what intellectual value does faith have? And on the other hand, if faith is considered to be based on logic, then why call it faith at all? The whole concept of faith in Jewish thinking is very different to the conventional Western understanding. Translating the Hebrew word emunah as faith, which is its conventional meaning, is far off from Jewish thought. The medieval commentator, the Rambam Maimonides, says it is a mitzvah, a commandment to know that God exists. He is supposed to be knowable through intellectual reasoning. So if that is true, what do we mean when we say emunah? Does it mean faith in the way it is understood in the modern world? Clearly not. Ask yourself, are your decisions based on your intellect or your emotion? The answer is it's always a mix of both. For example, someone who breaks a diet 2 days after starting just to taste the dessert is choosing 1 minute of short-term pleasure over the longer-term goal of being healthy and fit and losing weight. But this sort of behaviour is typical. Cognitive dissonance, as it is sometimes phrased, allows us to do what we know full well is wrong because of the short-term pleasure we feel by doing it. The concept of emunah does not contradict the idea that one can have knowledge of God. Emunah doesn't mean to believe in something despite the evidence. Rather, it means to be loyal to the evidence despite your physical or emotional impulses to do otherwise. Emunah really means faithfulness or trustworthiness. It means being loyal to the truth. Just as you can know donuts are bad for you but ignore the consequences, you can have knowledge of God and ignore the consequences. This is what is meant when the Torah says, "You shall know this day and take it to your heart." Know means to use intellectual reasoning, while take it to your heart means to live with what you know to be true. Imagine God spoke to you and asked you to do a favour for him. Anyone would jump at the opportunity. Anything you want, God. So God says, all right, tomorrow morning I want you to go to the top of a skyscraper in your city and jump off it. But don't worry, I'll be sure to catch you. Would you do it? You know that God's going to catch you. But when you get to the top of that skyscraper, you're going to have a moment of hesitation. You can know full well that God said he would catch you, but transferring that knowledge into action is the difficulty. In Judaism, we start with knowledge, but once we have that knowledge, we are taken on a journey which requires belief. When God appears to Abraham, he says, "Go for yourself to the land that I will show you." God makes his presence clear to Abraham, but he doesn't tell Abraham where the destination is. Similarly, during the 40 years that the Jewish people were in the desert, they would often be told to move to a different location, but they didn't know where they were going and for how long they would be there. Though God's presence was blatantly manifest from all the miracles that they experienced, they were now required to put trust in God. And so too in our own lives, we are expected to be able to clarify our beliefs and commit to a godly life through reason. But the ordeal is to hold on to those convictions when the roller coaster of life pushes us to question if God is really out there, guiding our lives. Most religions say you can never know, but you can believe. In Judaism, we say you certainly can know, but the real challenge is to believe. I'm Ollie Anisfeld, and you're watching JTV.
To stay up to date with JTV content, click subscribe here if you're on YouTube and hit the alarm bell. And if you're on Facebook, hit the like button, and under following, click see first. If you enjoy watching JTV content and want to help us continue to grow, please consider making a donation to us by clicking here.